Hello everybody and welcome. We are really excited to get into talking about wall groupings today and how to sell them, how to merchandise them, how to market them, all the fun stuff. But before we do, we should probably introduce who we are.
Absolutely.
So I'm Matt, the Client Success Manager here at White House Custom Color, and I am with the very famous...
Hi, I'm Robert, and I am the Partner Support and Resource Manager, and we are happy to have you here. Hope you're having a great day. And what we're going to do today is, Matt and I did a session a while ago where we talked about making money with mini sessions, right?
We
and
did.
It was really valuable because we broke down different possibilities of packages, and then you went on to suggest, hey, this is why I do this, and then pricing on top of that. I think that was huge.
Definitely. And it was one of our most popular sessions that we've done so far.
Right.
So yes, it was
so
very well
by
received.
popular demand, we're going to kind of do the same thing with the holy grail of presentations, the wall groupings. And so super excited to have you guys here. But did you hear that? That was someone subscribing.
Oh, great.
Good on you for keeping up with all the content. You know, all the stuff we're going to show you today, by the way, you can actually just get on the website. So Whcc.com, don't forget about that. And of course, don't forget about following us on Instagram at WHCC Okay, we're going to be with you, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes. And while we're here, take advantage of it. Drop your questions in, and we'll get them answered for you.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. So anybody who has been listening to the YouTube presentations for a while knows that I am very passionate about wall groupings and selling and merchandising and making it possible. So I think as photographers and as artists, we all get focused on the image so much that it's hard to sometimes see the forest for the trees, and I want to do this, how do I do this? But you just have to take a step forward and do it. Like when you walk into your favorite clothing store, or you walk into a car dealership, which is near and dear to my heart, things are merchandised. And what is that famous saying that we've all heard a million times, Robert, about product? Can anything pop into mind for you?
Something like, if you don't show it, you can't sell it, or the other side of it,
Yes.
you sell what you show.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. So we're going to look at several different wall groupings from, hey, I don't have any wall space, right? We're going to solve that because there's walls holding up your roof. So you have wall space. And then, finish off with really just absolutely stunning grouping like this as well. So why don't we just jump into number one here.
Perfect. So this particular grouping that we're going to start with is not typical of what you think of when you think of a wall grouping. And these have been extremely popular. What we've seen going through the lab with studio designs, this is specifically designed for the person that says what Robert just said, I don't have any wall space. Okay, that's not true. And anybody who's listening and has a vested interest in selling wall groupings has heard that before. It inevitably happens. So you may have a space that's this wide, you may have a space that's this wide, but that vertical grouping fits in magically into most spaces. Plus, it's contemporary, it prices aggressively, and you can do them in sets of 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the wall space, you could do whatever you want. So we chose our favorite and what we've seen to be the most popular to talk about for our number one wall grouping. So this is going to be where we're going to begin. Robert, let's talk about what we're actually looking at here first.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, you see this vertical setting here, and I'm going to hold up here this big, beautiful, get up on my tiptoes. What we have here is going to be 3 20 by 20 gallery grands. So, sorry, Matt, let me rotate this for you. So the gallery grand is beautiful. It's beefy.
It
right?
is. It's very beefy.
This is substantial on the wall. I really love these. And here we have a double wide white mat. I mean, not double wide, I'm sorry, a double mat that is white inside that. And then let's feel what's inside here. This feels like smooth mat. So this is the fine art smooth mat, a double white mat, and the black gallery grand, and we're talking about 3 of these 20 by 20s, right?
We are, and they're a beautiful set when you put them all together. That has a really nice presence in the room. Now, keep in mind that we are showing you one variation out of literally, hundreds, potentially, of options that you could put together: framing, matting, papers, style, sizes, all the things.
Serving suggestion.
Yes, exactly. I like that. So don't be pigeonholed into just squares. You could do vertical, you could do horizontal, you can do larger, you can do smaller, all the things. But we're going to start here just for the sake of conversation and to give you an idea of where to start. Okay, so this particular grouping, cost of goods with what Robert just described, for a set of 3 is going to be at $489 for your complete cost of goods, which breaks down to $163 per frame. Okay. Now, based on the research of the clients that we work with, and I'm fortunate enough at White House to be able to work with some of the top photographers in the country, all over the country literally, and price range of retail $17.95 to $22.95 is very popular within that group. It allows you a very nice margin. It gives you a nice entry point for a substantial wall collage. It's just a very approachable group to start with. Now again, many variations, but pricing wise, $17.95 to $22.95 is going to be a really good sweet spot for this. Now, along with that, in talking to photographers, some people get hung up on, okay, in my price list I have my framing at this, I have my acrylics at this, I have my canvas at this, and the price list gets to be a page and a page and a page and a page, and it's just too much. It gets to be too confusing. So we created this next one, and I'll let Robert describe what we have for actual product, and then we'll talk about how to tie this in pricing wise.
Right, so we're like a variation on that, right? That vertical, and what we're looking at here is 3 16 by 16 acrylic prints. And for those of you that have not tried the acrylic prints, they're remarkable.
They're
I
amazing.
love how they pull in the light and send it back out. And how these are made, there's going to be a glossy print. It's just going to be backed with the black styrene and then a 1/4 inch acrylic on the front. And there are several different mounting versions. This is the most popular. It's called a float mount. And so we have this very lightweight gator board foam, which is 3/4 of an inch thick, and I'll get that out here like that. And then it's going to be backed with this brushed stainless panel with the sawtooth hanger that's built right into it. You'll notice then that this is a little bit smaller than the product. So all of these things appear to float off the wall, you know, these in metals.
Yeah, it's a very contemporary, very clean installation of the product. So as you are pricing and thinking about wall groupings, you want it to be as efficient and easy, you're going to hear me say those words a lot today, to sell those groupings. You don't want somebody to get hung up on $100 or $200 in their decision making. You want them to have what they want. So I'm recommending we'll call this 1B. So the 3 16 by 16s compared to the 3 20 by 20 frames, the cost of goods is not significantly different. If you're going to do this particular set, you're at $336. I personally, and I always preface that, if it was me, I would price this the same as the 20 by 20s. So then you are giving somebody an option of product, not an option of price. They're not going to make that decision based on price, because chances are they're gonna regret it if they make that decision because they wanted to save $100. We want it to be as easy to purchase and as making your clients as happy as possible on the back end. So that would be my recommendation, keeping that cost of goods the same. If somebody takes you up on the acrylics, you just made an extra $100 and some. Great. If they take you on the frames, you have priced accordingly for the frames. So that is my 2 cents on that.
I love that idea. And that kind of making it easy for your client based on product. I like that. I want that. And you make it simple and go, fine, do you want this or you want this? Price is the same. So it's whatever you want, you know, which is super effective.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so are you ready to move on to wall grouping
Let's
number 2?
do it.
Perfect. Okay. So next one we're going to talk about is going to be a little bit more, I would consider a little bit more traditional set of 3. So when you think about wall groupings, several different sizes come to mind. The set of 3 from the people that we spoke with tends to be the more popular of all of them if they're gonna group that into one. Now this particular grouping, is going to fit into another sweet spot price point. It's not going to be the Big Mac. It's not going to be the lowest end. It's going to be, you know, somewhat towards the middle. So let's get into talking about the nuts and bolts and specifics of this one. Robert, do you want to take us on a little tour?
Sure. So let's take a look. We have this hung on the wall for a couple of reasons, just to show you what it's like, first of all, and also, you know, to talk about relative sizing. Okay, you see my huge carcass in the frame a little bit with that. When people say, and they look at something like this, and we'll go through these piece by piece, but the center one, which is the large piece, is 20 by 24. And people say, 20 by 24? Oh, no, I just need an 8 by 10. Well, okay,
right.
Go get a ruler
Yeah.
and put 10 inches on your wall, and you'll see just really how insignificant that is. So this sort of middle range package here, what we're going to see on the outsides are the same size and piece, essentially. So we're seeing a 16 by 20 premium fine art canvas. Okay, premium fine art gallery wrap. These happen to have a white border on the outside, which is just a click of a button if you want it. Or of course you can wrap the image, so 16 by 20 premium fine art. And then following with that, that's also what we have in the inside of this float frame. So this is a 20 by 24, as we mentioned, premium fine art. These all three have the semi-gloss lamination, which is nice. It has presence and it's not overwhelming. And this is going to be surrounded by the light wood float frame. So as we were panning by closely on this, you see all the float frames are going to have a little bit of air around them, right, which will make the piece appear to float within the frame. It's a pretty cool effect. But also, this is still clean. It's organic, you know, kind
That's
of
a good
feeling
word right there.
To it. And so that's this one. We have the two on the outside, which are the same size in this particular case, a 16 by 20. Then the float frame, 20 by 24 inside.
Yeah, and I love how we're showing this with the center image being float frame because, again, some people think, okay, it always has to be the same thing. Well, it doesn't. It can be two different things. It can be three different things. It can be four different things depending on the size of the collage. This is a prime example when you have three pieces to take the center one, the main focus point, here being the family, and draw a little bit more attention to that. Now, there's going to be some interesting schools of thought from this side of the table on pricing on this one. Now, this one is actually our next step up retail pricing, but in comparison to the three-piece frame collage, cost of goods actually went down, okay, by like $19 or $18. In my world, canvas has a little bit higher perceived value. Okay?
Right.
And I think if you took that poll across your client base, people would agree with that. It doesn't hurt to make a little bit of extra money on canvas. I don't think anybody would complain about that. So this is going to be our next step up retail pricing, all right? So on this particular collage, being the 20 by 24 natural wood, float framed with the two 16 by 20s on either side of it, I would recommend being in that $22.95 to $27.95 price range. Again, not a crazy number, very approachable. This particular collage is perfectly suited for above a couch or a smaller room, right, or in a den or a family room. It will fit in most places. So this particular one we've seen for years. It's very popular, creates a great amount of markup in your cost of goods area, and it will sell itself. So.
Sweet. So,
yes.
Hey, for those of you who are just joining us, I am Robert. With me is Matt, the Client Success Manager. And what we're talking about is wall groupings and suggestions of different wall groupings and even how to price them. So we're about halfway through now, right? And so let's move on to our next wall grouping. We'll call that number 3.
Perfect. Let's do it. So this particular one I love. And the new framed acrylic has been getting a ton of attention around the industry. Every time that we show this product, people are loving it. So as you are looking at the details of this, when Robert starts discussing that, keep in mind you can get that frame in either white or black. It's an acrylic piece. It's very contemporary, very clean. If you haven't seen this product before, make sure and check it out. Now this one in particular, when we're looking at the style of this, we have a 30 by 40 in the center, and then we have flanked by two 12-18s and two 11 by 14s. So this is getting to be a larger grouping. So as you're stepping up, I think you want to be able to hit all of those price points. The display value and the presence of this is fantastic. The markup is wonderful on it. Plus, this is a product that will sell itself if you put it into your space. So, Robert, let's talk about the details of this.
So yeah, let's take a nice close-up of this, the framed acrylics. And so I'm holding up one here because they're all gonna look the same, right, in that regard. So they'll look the same on the wall, the white or black as Matt mentioned. The framed acrylic is going to stand off of the frame a little bit here, which is a really unique presentation.
It's beautiful.
I like this. I haven't seen myself anything else like this. So if I go sideways, can we get in on that bad boy? So you see that's gonna stand off about 1/8 of an inch or so from that frame, this framed acrylic. And it's normal framing in the backing, right? It's gonna be paper back, it's gonna have the wire hanger and things like that. So that is what this piece looks like. It's gonna be about 1.5 inches off the wall, this particular frame.
Yeah, for sure. So as you are selling and merchandising and working with clients, you always want to have high-end options. This happens to be the second one from the top of what we're talking about today, but honestly, sky's the limit when it comes to wall decor and wall groupings. One thing that I hear repeatedly when I'm talking to photographers is they put themselves into the position of their clients during sales. You don't want to do that. Just because you may not feel like you could or would invest $3,000 or $4,000 or $10,000 into a wall grouping does not mean the person sitting in your chair will not. That's a critical error to make. But that's a whole different conversation.
That's a whole other
there.
show.
Yeah,
but a really great point, I think, that when you create your own objections, essentially, in your head, and I think it kind of speaks to then, like, what is the value of my art, right? And how can I charge this much?
Right.
But that's because you don't want to put the set that a client may have, if you've chosen your clients well, and choosing your clients is a thing. If you've chosen them well, that's not going to be an issue. It isn't about cost. It's about what am I creating here, and then not having that, the resistance doesn't actually apply really in a real sense there.
And you have to have the options of price, size, style, product, all the things, because it's hard to sit, in a sales session and say, oh, the printer that I use has this awesome new framed acrylic. It's really neat. It sits in da-da-da. And without having that product there to show, it's going to be hard to get that person to be like, ooh, I'm excited about that. Can I see one? Well, I don't have one here. And think of how easy that would be if you had the grouping up on your wall and said, yes, right there.
I want that.
I want that. Yep, exactly. So if we're going to talk about pricing, so cost of goods on this particular grouping, so this set of 5, is going to run you $1,082. So your 30 by 40 is $518. Each of the 12 by 18s is going to be $156. Each of the 11 by 14s is going to be $126. My recommendation of markup on number 3 grouping, this 5-piece, is going to run from $29.95 to $34.95. All right, and again, this is from researching clients of ours across the country, and this is hitting in the sweet spot for that. Again, not a massive amount of money, not a massive size collage that you're going to have 10 feet of wall space to put up. Just a really nice, approachable, brand new product, something exciting to offer your clients going into the holiday season. So,
Matt, let me ask you a question. And
yes.
I'm going to have a follow-up question after that. As we start to get into maybe the higher price points, and it gets to intimidate some people.
Yep.
When it comes time to present the cost and how do you want to handle it, what's an example of what you might say?
I can tell you exactly what I would say. So, Robert, I have absolutely loved working with your family. I'm so excited to see these on your walls. Tonight, what we've done is we've selected your wall grouping. That's going to be the 30 by 40, 2 12 by 18s, and 2 11 by 14s. You had listed off 12 people that you needed gift portraits for. So we went ahead and we selected a frame print for your gifts for the holidays. You're going to need 75 holiday cards, and you decided to add on 3 mini books for stocking stuffers. Does that sound like what we've covered tonight?
That sounds like it, exactly.
Okay, perfect. So I've added all that together. And it looks like your total tonight is going to be $7,486.19. Would you like to pay that in full, or do you want to pay half down?
Let me ask you a follow-up question. By a count of the number of words, how many words do you say after you say that?
0.
0 words.
0 words. And this sounds a little bit blunt, but how does that saying go? The next person that talks loses.
Right.
Okay. So I've always said during sales discussions and coaching, if I give you that number and you go, whew, I wasn't planning on that. And if I say, oh, you know what, I really want you to have this, I'm going to give you 20% off. You know what I just did? I took $1,400 out of my pocket and I lit it on fire. And you're obviously going to be like, oh, wonderful, I appreciate that, thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. Wrong message. If I sit silently, you have to sit with that decision for a minute and you have to think about it. And you're going to do one of 2 things. Well, one of 3 things, let's say. First one is going to be, you know what, I'll just pay it in full. Here's my card. Okay? Something that most photographers don't realize is if Robert hands me his credit card and says, I just want to go ahead and pay the whole thing off, I've left money on the table. There was room. And it was my fault for not getting that space.
Because that was, yes, here, of course.
It was easy.
Yeah.
Yep. You didn't even have to think about it. No problem. That's actually less than I was thinking. Crap.
Yeah. Yep.
That was a little bit more than I was thinking, but just to spread it out, I probably want to hide the invoice from my spouse. Let's do half down. Okay, no problem. Okay, so that way you know that you were close. The next one, and ironically, this is the one that'll tell you if you've hit the ceiling, is, you know what, I might need to take something off because I think that's a little bit more than what I can do. If that happens, don't go into panic mode. Don't start offering discounts. Don't start throwing things at the order because that is just sending the wrong message. And unfortunately, that's what happens. People get nervous. They start doing that right away. Let Robert have the option of doing that. You will be the good person, the non-pressure person, and maybe even have a suggestion. Like if you said back to me, whew, that's a little bit more than I thought, I could say back to you, you know what, Robert, when you listed out those 10 people that you needed your gift prints for, we framed all of them. Maybe if there's some secondary ones, maybe if we could just do the print itself for them and let them find their own frame, I could save you about $300. And more than likely, just that one little thing, you're going to be like, okay, yep, I feel better about that. So if somebody does push back on you, it doesn't mean that they want to cut the order in half or they want to take it down, 75%. Have something ready. Be prepared for those answers. And the more you do it, the more you will learn how to close the sale.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And like you said at the top, you just have to step into it.
You do.
Right. Just step into it.
Yep, for sure.
All right, fantastic. That was excellent. Thanks for that, Matt. And for those of you who are just joining us, we're working our way through wall groupings today, and we're talking with Matt about how should we price these, how do we approach these, what should we put on the wall for someone who says, I have no wall space, to carte blanche, which is what is behind us, and that's going to be our 4th package. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So you all have been looking at us, unfortunately, but we have this beautiful wall grouping behind us. So as this grouping was being designed, it was done in a way that it could be perfect the way it is. It could also be separated down a little bit. And when you have large wall groupings up on display in your studio, or you're designing a large wall grouping for a family during a sales process, keep that in mind that may come up. Ooh, I really like that, but maybe this one particular image I don't love, or that's a little bit big for me. Could we modify that a little bit? Could we break it down a little bit? Absolutely. It's very modular to do that. So this is our big one. This is I should say this is the big one for today.
Yeah.
You could go much larger. You could cover this whole wall behind us, but for today, this is going to be our largest piece. So Robert, tell us about the nuts and bolts of this one.
Right, so what we're looking at here, let's look outside in. Now what we're looking at the 24 by 30s on the outsides, this is the Barita paper. It's just a beautiful, beautiful fine art paper. It's going to give you really, really rich darks, as you can see, without losing detail. I love this paper. And that's going to be inside the modern black frame. So this is the modern black frame, these two on the outsides, these 24 by 30s. Then moving in, if you look closely, these look very similar, but this is a float frame And so you see that Baryta print floating in there. You say, what? I'm floating a print? We can float almost anything for you, right? Metals, regular prints, fine art prints. So here we have the 11 by 14 classic black float. Again, mounted so that there is space around the outside. There's 4 of these here in this particular arrangement, floating on the inside of these frames. Very congruent, very modern, very sleek, very same feel.
Absolutely. I like that congruent. That was a great word, Robert.
Thanks very much.
Been working on that for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, perfect presentation, not overthinking, not over the top, just very clean, which is going to fit into most decor. So don't overthink things, I guess is where I'm going with that. So talking about the modular aspect of that, it would be very easy to take this particular print off and keep this, or put this one in the middle, slide these 2 over here, do just the set of 4, okay? Do 3. It would be very easy to use this as an example, and it would work very well for that. So if you are in a home studio or in a smaller commercial space, or if you're in a shared space. This came up the other night. How do I do that if I'm in a shared space? One of our very good friends that has a studio in Wisconsin, he said, you know, back in the day when he was just starting out, he would literally take wall groupings with him into the shared space, put little nails in the wall, hang them up for an hour to do his sales presentation, or 2 hours, take them down and take them with him. You know, that's doing it right, you know,
Yes,
and to be at the place where he is at and his wife are at now, you have to, you know, you got to cut your teeth a little bit. You got to work hard at that. So don't let your space or your situation keep you from doing these, because there's ways of doing it, you know. And if you have questions about that, or if you want to know what some of those ways are, drop it into the chat. I mean, we would love to communicate with you on that. That's why we're here. So let's talk about cost of goods on this piece behind us. So total for all 6 pieces behind me is going to have a cost of $1,594. How that breaks down is each of the 24 by 30s is going to be $475, and again, that's on the Fine Art Baryta paper, which is an absolutely gorgeous presentation on here. And then each of the 11 by 14s is going to be $161, so it brings you up to $1,594. My recommended retail on this out the door is going to be anywhere from $44.95 to $49.95. I think that's a wonderful average if a person could hit that during the holiday season and all year round. Wouldn't you agree, Robert?
I would agree 100%.
Yes, absolutely.
And seeing that on the wall,
yes,
right, makes that way more evident. And
yes.
It goes back to you sell what you show.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at a markup or a profit of $3,500 from your cost of goods, then you're going to have your editing or retouching on top of that. You're going to have potentially a delivery installation fee. You're going to have your session charge on top of that. So when you start looking at a large piece like that, in addition to all those things, I mean, you could be in that $6,000 range, you know, very quickly. Plus, the client loves what they're going to have, and it shows well. And if that client is investing that with you and showing that in their home, they're entertaining people that are going to be of the same mindset, and hopefully it will turn into many more of that particular client. Oh my gosh, I saw this beautiful collage in my friend's home. I would like to do something like that. My space is a little bit different. Can you do something different for me? Absolutely. The answer is always yes. What can we do to help? Now, you're probably asking yourself, how do I do this? How do I show all these different groupings? I don't have the space. How do I do this? So if you have the opportunity to play with our iPad app, it is a wonderful place to design. You can design wall groupings in literally minutes. So as you're going into a sales presentation, you can put a wall grouping together. It can be set into your client's room. It can be calibrated to that. So if you don't have the opportunity to have 2 large groupings up or 4 large groupings up, you can have the one that you know, maybe is your sweet spot. It creates the most happiness for you. It's the one that you really love because that's always the easiest one to sell. And then you have, I did this one for you, and I did this one for you, and I did this one for you. Chances are one of those is going to ping along the way. So definitely take advantage of that iPad app. So I think this has been awesome.
It has, and I appreciate you sharing your expertise with us. And one note about that iPad app before you. Oh wait, did you hear that?
Is that another subscriber?
That's another subscriber.
Awesome.
Good on you. Your day's going to get better, and so is ours. That iPad app it's really an awesome tool. And people have questions about it. If you have questions about any of this stuff, of course, we said drop it in below. We will get you answers, but you can contact us as well. In fact, in the help section on the website, you can even set up a one-on-one consultation.
Yes, and those are awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Really true. Well, again, Matt, I want to thank you for sharing your expertise with us today, and I will let you take us out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. This is always a treat to be able to do these. This is one of the things that we are very, very excited about here at White House. But year-round, wall groupings are the thing. Everywhere you look now, that is what you're seeing. There's many variations, easy for you to say, styles, sizes, pricing, all the things. We hope you've been inspired today. We love doing this for you. If you have questions, drop them into the chat. Make sure and hit the subscribe on the Whcc YouTube. Follow us on Instagram if you have product questions, pricing, options, all that type of stuff. Jump on the website, whcc.com. We're here for you. If you have questions, let us know. But for now, thank you for joining us. It was our pleasure to have you come along today, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon.
See you next time.